Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking on some incredibly heavy, deeply ingrained societal myths. We are going to completely dismantle those toxic, restrictive stories we've all been sold about what it actually means to heal and what it really means to get older. For way too long, we've been fed this storyline that is impossibly neat, perfectly packaged, and honestly, completely disconnected from reality. So today, we're charting a course through the messy truth of recovery and the incredible liberation that comes with aging. Okay, let's dive into this. I want to ruin the narrative for a moment. It's a disruptive thought, right? But it is so necessary. We are practically wired to expect our struggles to wrap up neatly, kind of like a 30-minute sitcom. We want that triumphant closing chapter where we emerge from the cocoon, radiant, completely fixed, and ready to take on the world. But setting ourselves up with that fake narrative, it's a trap. It literally only leads to disappointment. So let's go ahead and ruin that narrative together. So we're sold this myth that healing is just a straight line from broken to whole. The perfect before and after photo. But the reality? Well, the reality is making incredible, hard-won progress for months, and then, out of absolutely nowhere, a random Tuesday sends you completely back to square one. You're just left standing there, totally frustrated, wondering if all that progress you made was even real at all. But listen, that is exactly what real healing looks like. It's messy, it's cyclical, and it is entirely unpredictable. Real healing looks like grieving things you were absolutely positive you were done grieving. It looks like totally holding it together for 3 solid weeks, and then you hear a specific song playing through those fuzzy speakers at the grocery store, and suddenly you're just crying in the cereal aisle. It feels so embarrassing in the moment, I know, but it's actually just deeply, profoundly human. Your journey isn't a straight line, and those moments, they are not failures. They are just part of the process. Moving on to the real toolkit. Evidence that getting better is real and possible. So, if the journey isn't a straight line, how in the world do we navigate it? Well, here are 4 foundational tools for genuine recovery. Now, this isn't some strict medical prescription because your healing is entirely your own. Think of this more as hard evidence that doing the work is real and absolutely worth it. First up, therapy. Talking to a professional isn't a weakness. Actually, scratch that, it's literally one of the bravest decisions you can make because it forces you to see those painful patterns you're just too close to recognize. Second is honesty. Telling the truth, first to yourself and then to safe people, because the moment you say a thing out loud, it immediately starts to lose its power over you. Third, prayer without agenda. Meaning you seek peace and the courage to keep moving instead of demanding specific outcomes or trying to micromanage the answers. And fourth, reclaiming small things. I absolutely love this one. Just drinking your coffee in quiet, going for a walk with literally no destination, picking up a hobby you abandoned years ago. These tiny, seemingly insignificant acts of coming back to yourself, they add up to something huge. But you want to know the absolute hardest tool of the entire bunch? Patience. For sure. For anyone who's used to pushing hard, driving forward, and expecting immediate results, this is a massive challenge. Real healing flat out refuses to respond to hustle culture. It just won't do it. Genuine healing demands that you slow down, that you be gentle with yourself, and that you trust the process even when, and especially when, you cannot see the progress. Okay, next up, the myth of the 50s, challenging the story of endings. Just like society feeds us that false straight-line narrative about healing, it gives us a really flawed story about aging, too. The world essentially tells us that women in their 50s are facing an ending, that they're somehow past the point of reinvention or relevance or exciting new beginnings. But the reality is completely different. As the author notes, I am in one of the most interesting seasons of my entire existence. And that's not because everything is magically figured out or the hard stuff is over. It's incredibly interesting because, for the very first time in decades, you're no longer too busy just trying to survive to ask yourself the really deep questions. And here is the first of those profound questions. Let's just slow down for a second and let this really sink in. Who am I when nobody needs anything from me? For decades, your whole identity might have been completely wrapped up in caretaking, in providing, in being the glue that holds everyone else together, right? When all that noise fades and the immediate demands of everyone else finally quiet down, you're face to face with this immense, terrifying, but totally exhilarating shift. You go from constant survival mode to genuine self-discovery, which naturally leads us to the next big question on this introspective journey. What do I actually love that lights me up? Now, Notice the distinction here. It is not asking what you're simply good at. Let's be honest, you can be very good at things you secretly resent doing. And it's definitely not asking what's expected of you by your family, your boss, or society. It's asking what genuinely sparks joy within you, what makes you feel alive. This next question really challenges you to confront those self-imposed limitations you've been building up over the decades. What did I always want to try that I convinced myself wasn't for someone like me? Think about it. How many times have we looked at a new hobby, a major career shift, or some wild adventure and just immediately shut it down? We tell ourselves we're the wrong age, we're the wrong type, or we have the wrong background. This whole season of life is about taking a sledgehammer to those walls you built while you were busy living for everybody else.
And it all leads to this absolutely crucial turning point. What does the next chapter look like if I write it on my own terms? This is it. This is the exact moment where you step completely out of survival mode and take full authorship of your own life. No more ghostwriters, no more performing for an audience. It's just you, the pen, and the blank page of your next chapter.
Which brings us to our final section, the rebirth. Stop performing and start living. You see, the 50s don't have to be an ending, they can be a total rebirth. This is the era where those paralyzing outside opinions that used to dictate your every single move finally lose their grip. You wake up one day and realize the only approval you ever actually needed was your own. So it's time to pick up the thing you set down 20 years ago when life got really loud. We all have that thing, don't we? The passion project, the art, the class, the adventure, we just boxed up and shoved in the attic because, well, bills had to be paid and people had to be taken care of. This is your call to make someday into now. Because if life has taught us anything the hard way, it's that someday is definitely not guaranteed to anyone. This season is where the woman you always were finally fully comes home. That is just such a beautiful thought. This is all about the triumphant stripping away of everything that isn't the real you. It's about looking back at those relationships that diminished you, those exhausting years stuck in survival mode, the shrinking, the staying silent, the slow erosion of your true self, and finally saying no more. It's a profound, gorgeous homecoming to the person you were always meant to be. So I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about today. What are you waiting for someday to do? If healing isn't a straight line and aging isn't an ending, then there is absolutely zero reason to keep your life on pause. I challenge you to take everything we've talked about in this explainer, stop waiting, start living, and fully inhabit your own beautiful, messy, completely non-linear journey today. Thank you so much for joining me. Now go write your next chapter.